Hi, I'm Terry. Thank you so much for helping make these face masks for our healthcare workers. I'm going to give you a tutorial today on how to make the face masks with the insert, with the pocket on the inside. It's the same exact pattern that we've been using, that we've been having on the Facebook page in the group. Back to my pattern that I made. I took the pattern from that website, put it on a piece of paper, drew a 1/4 inch all the way around and an inch on the outside. This is the outside of the mask, and when you fold this down, that is your lining and your pocket. So when you get your fabric out, you need two of the large pieces of fabric cut, and then you'll cut 4 of the lining and pocket piece. So here I have it's 2 pieces of the outside, 2 pieces of the lining, and then 2 pieces of the pocket. You don't have to use flannel, use what you have, but if you use quilting cotton on all 3, that's fine. If you want to bypass putting the lining on it, that's fine. You can do the outside of the mask and the pocket, okay? So I'm going to make it with 3 because that's what I did on this. All I have left to do on this one is to insert the wire and to insert the elastic, and this mask is completely done. Now that you have your pieces cut, what you'll want to do is go to the sewing machine, and you will want to sew down the center curve area. Make sure that the right sides are together, wrong sides are out. Just sew the curve right here of all of the pieces. As you see, I've done that here. After you sew it, clip, clip, clip. Put little clips all the way around that curve so it lays flat. I wanted to interrupt this video to share something very important when constructing your face masks. If you've been sewing like I have for years and years, 40+ years, you've always been taught that after you sew a seam, you press the seam allowance open. It's autopilot for us. I've been doing this. However, with a face mask, we can make them much more effective if we iron that seam allowance to one side. So I have an example here. I'm going to iron it to one side. The directions in the pattern actually say to iron to one side, but if you're like me and have been sewing for years, you are on autopilot, and this is how you normally do it. So I'm ironing my seams to one side, and then I'm just going to take it over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew a seam right next to that, and this is going to give us some added protection, and the masks will be much more effective. You guys have been doing a great job making masks out there, and I want them to be as effective as we can possibly make them. So I'm just going to sew this mask down to one side. So any mask that you make from this point on, you can add this extra layer of protection. Now we'll continue on with our video. Once you have ironed that, each of these pieces, the inside, you'll want to take the piece that you're going to use for the pocket. It could be either one of these pieces. Doesn't matter. The flannel can go inside for the lining. They're both cut exactly the same, but one of them will be your pocket. And what you'll want to do is fold it over about a 1/4 inch, iron it, let your iron sit there, let it set, let it cool, flip it over another 1/4 inch, iron it again. And you'll want to do that on both sides of your pocket. Okay, so my pocket is ready, and what I'll need to do now is go to the sewing machine, and I'll need to sew the edges right along the fold of our pocket. Okay, I have sewed down both sides of my pocket. Now it's time to put these 3 pieces together to begin to make the mask. Now, I want to remind you, that you don't have to have a lining and a pocket. You could just do a pocket. So we're going to do it like this. So think of it in this way. This is the outside of my mask. My pocket doesn't go over the outside of my mask, but I want my pocket to go over this inside part of my mask. So right side facing me, right side facing me, I'm going to put these two pieces on top of each other and match the seams the best I can. Keep in mind, healthcare workers do not care if this is perfect. So you perfectionists out there, just don't worry about making it perfect. And I say that as I sit here and try to be as perfect as I can. So now this is what the inside of the mask is going to look like before it's all sewn down. I'm going to take the outside of the mask. Now, if I lay it down like this, it's not going to be right. This is the right side of my inside. You want to put right sides together. So I'm going to put the right side here to the right side here. Lay this over here, and you see those pins that I used? I'm just going to line this seam right back up with them and pop that pin right back in there. There. And then I'll do it again on the bottom. See, pretty easy. Now, what I'm going to do, you'll want to use pins to maybe tack down each side. But after I finish pinning this, I'm going to go over to the sewing machine, sew the top and the bottom. Okay, now I'm at my sewing machine. I've got my mask pinned, and I'm going to stitch across the top, and I'm going to stitch across the bottom. And I use a 4/4 inch seam. I know you really shouldn't sew over your pin. Sorry about that. That's the bottom, that's the top part of my mask. Now I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to sew the bottom part of my mask. And 4/4 inch seam again. Ask me how I know you shouldn't sew over pins. I've broken a few needles. I was wondering about that. Okay, now I've sewn them together, and we are ready to take our pins out. We're going to clip our curved area, and then we'll be ready to turn it right side out. Okay. I'm going to start clipping my seams in the curved area. And one thing that may be helpful, there's a lot of bulk in this area, so I'm going to, well, I really should use a different pair of scissors, but I'm going to clip a little V right here to reduce the bulk. Just do not clip your thread, because then you have to go and run another seam. Can be fixed, but you have to do extra work. I don't like extra work. Okay, and I'm not going to worry about clipping the bottom. There's not enough curve there. So let's go ahead and turn it right side out. Let's see. I hope I put everything down correctly. Got to turn it just right too. Okay, now you can see that inside we have a pocket. And after I go iron it, everything is going to fall into place. Okay, I've turned the mask right side out, and now I want to iron both sides, and then I'm going to go in top stitch. And I'm just going to iron down these 1-inch extensions here, because I will turn that under for the elastic casing. Okay, do you see how now the back of my mask, I have that 1-inch extension from the outside. this was my lining, and then now my pocket's here. So I just need to turn this under about 1/4 of an inch. And then turn it under again. Keep in mind right here, if you have 1/8 inch elastic, you don't have to turn it under as much. If you have only 1/4 inch elastic, you'll need to give it a little bit more room here. I'm gonna give it a little bit more room because by the time I get to the elastic on these, I may just have 1/4 inch left. So let me do this side. And then turn it under one more time. Now I am ready to go to the machine. So right along this fold, and I can go ahead and top stitch it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch it first, and then I'm gonna iron these the casings. I'm just sewing right along the edge. Don't even have to go all the way to the end. I had this fabric, it was already washed, that's why I used it. It was gonna be some pajamas. Okay, now we're ready to turn it over and sew along the fold so we can slip our elastic through there. I'll go back and clip all these threads later. Not worried about them right now. I backstitch because there'll probably be a lot more strain on these entrances to the elastic. Okay, so it is that easy and that quick. That quick. We have lots of little threads. Now we just install our wire. I'll go ahead and show you how to do that while I'm right here. I have some wire. This is a 2.5 to 3 inch piece of 14 gauge solid wire. Can't be braided, that will not hold up. And I just need to stitch all the way across. Think about the middle. I need to stitch all the way across here, and then I'll cut a slit and insert my wire. And I know I need to come to about right here. I'm going to turn it over. I need to make sure I have enough room in there. See, I have enough room to slip it in there. So all we need to do is try not to cut through all your layers, just this top. Just make a tiny little nick. So I have a little bitty hole to go through, and I'm gonna put. Okay, so we turned it right side out. We've top stitched the top and the bottom. I have inserted the wire in the nose piece, and there's another video on our Facebook group page to show you how to insert the wire. The only thing left here is to insert the elastic through the casing on both sides. But as you can see, I don't know how close we can get, we have a pocket on both sides where a filter can be inserted. We have our casings on both sides. So, that's it. Thank you, Face Mask Warriors. You are the best.